Hello. I want to talk today about the lunar month for countries and people, part one, from July 5th through August 4th. So let's see if I can share my screen here. This will take just a minute. I have to get some panels out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. So just bear with me. Okay. And I think we're ready. The lunar month for countries and people, part one. America, Biden, Trump, China, Israel, Netanyahu, Hamas, and Iran. From July 5th through August 4th. All right, first let's take a look at America. There's some hard stuff and some easy stuff going on. We have transiting Chiron, making a semi-square to Uranus that can cause some unexpected wounding here and there. Uh, Let me jump down to this one. Transiting Uranus semi-square. The sun, again, that can cause some unexpected things. The sun in this chart for America, the July 2nd, 1776 chart for the passage of the Declaration for Independence, it has the sun in the 10th house, so that could be unexpected changes and regarding leadership in the country, unexpected things happening. Now, two things I want to focus on in particular are transiting Saturn, square natal Mars, and transiting Neptune square natal Venus. I want to focus on those two in particular because they could result, unfortunately, in some violence in the country. Mars, of course, rules energy, assertion, and unfortunately also violence. Saturn is regulation, but can also be restriction and frustration. And when those two drives are not in a good relationship with one another, frustration could lead to some violence. Transiting Neptune square natal Venus, that's important because this is an aspect that was present on the day that the American Civil War broke out. So, uh, tensions are a little high in the country right now. Let's just hope that people just let this pass and that we don't have more violence than we need. But there is a heightened chance for some such things right now. Now, on the good side, we have transiting Uranus, trine Pluto, and I should say, sorry, there should be, let's see, no, this is correct. It's trine Pluto down here, and also trine the natal moon, and it's making a sextile to Mercury. This will probably be some good financial news for the country. So, financially, the country may continue to move forward, two steps forward for each step backward. But emotionally, there are probably some frustrations in the country right now, irritation in the country, people being inflamed by misinformation and false ideologies, and some unexpected events and wounding may happen during this coming lunar month. Okay, now here you can see when each of these aspects is going to be in effect. The good aspect from Uranus to the moon and to Mercury, that fizzles out pretty quickly after the start of the lunar month. It will pick up again in late July, at least for transiting Uranus trine natal Pluto, and that will pick up in late July and continue on through August, and that will be probably pretty good. But for the tense things, well, they're going to be present for much of July and into August. But there's this part right here, sort of the middle chunk of July, where things could be a little bit more tense without much relief. Okay, let's take a look at President Biden's transits for this lunar month. Now, unfortunately, the square from transiting Pluto to his natal moon, that continues, and transiting Saturn conjunct his cusp of his fourth house in opposition to his midheaven, that continues. So far, the square to natal moon in the fifth house from Pluto, that has played out in terms of his children, specifically Hunter Biden. And there are reports that he has suffered a lot of mental anguish and grief as a result of the things that his son has been going through. Uh, with Saturn conjunct the cusp of the fourth house, it's understandable that his focus would be on his family right now, the home environment rather than the public environment. Though as president, he can't ignore the public environment. Uh, so there could also be some restrictions on his success in the world right now. Now, what's new, which is coming into focus, is transiting Uranus opposite his natal sun. And this could be something unexpected happening to him. Uranus always breaks up the existing pattern, and Uranus is in a sixth house of health and occupation. So, don't know what it might be, but something will probably be going on which could rock the boat. It may be something we become publicly aware of, or it might be something which happens but we don't hear about. Now, on the good side, transiting Pluto is making a trine to, let's see over here, his natal Neptune. Neptune is in his 10th house. This will help strengthen him as president and help strengthen uh, his charisma. And let's see, we also have transiting Uranus making a sextile to natal Jupiter. Jupiter rules his first house, his rising sign of Sagittarius. So this is going to be good for him. Some things are going to break his way. Uh, Unexpected good news out of the blue or creativity on his part will take place. So he does have some heavy things to deal with, but also some relief from other transits. Now, if we look to see when each of these guys will be in effect in this upcoming lunar month, well, the Pluto trine Neptune, that's going to be in effect throughout the lunar month. Others come and go a bit. Transiting Uranus in opposition to a sun, that kicks in a little before the last week of July. But this Pluto square his natal moon, that transit is going to be exact on July 18th. Now, I want you to notice something in the next slide. These are transits that will be made by the transiting planets to midpoints in this chart. And midpoints can be turning points of one sort or another. And what I'm particularly keeping an eye on is this one. Saturn squared is Moon Pluto midpoint. Now remember, he has Pluto and Moon square one another right now, transiting Pluto, squaring his natal moon. So that is something that is in effect that could affect his, it is affecting his son Hunter. It could affect his mental state. It could affect his health or even result in death in an extreme case. So far, as I said, this represents the Pluto and the moon represent the trauma he has endured, the anguish he has gone through as a result of uh, his son Hunter's troubles. But Saturn will be exactly square this midpoint on July 19th. That is just one day after transiting Pluto square Moon being exact on the 18th. So that is a date, sometime around that date, that I want to keep an eye on. And there's some others worth watching also. We have Pluto in opposition to his Jupiter-Pluto midpoint exact on July 10th. Uranus square his Mars-Saturn midpoint on the 14th. Higher chance of accidents on that day. Saturn in opposition to his Mars-Jupiter midpoint on the 26th. Okay, now let's take a look at Donald Trump. He's got a mixed bag of goods ahead of him. He has trancing Chiron square natal Saturn that can cause some wounding. That's been an effect, and we have seen the legal wounding he has undergone. We have trancing Uranus square his natal Mars. That'll make him good mad. And let's see what else. We have transiting Saturn square his natal Uranus. And let's see, I did not get a nice little red circle around natal Uranus here, but this is in his 10th house. So this can affect his status in society, his position. And we have seen a lot of that already. Uh, let me look at the next slide just to check something here. Transiting Saturn. Yeah, that's right. I set up the outer chart for the full moon, halfway between the lunar month. So some of these aspects become exact or strong before the full moon, some become strong after the full moon, and that's going to be the case with transiting Saturn, square his natal Uranus right here, and that's going to affect his status. Now, on the good side, he has transiting Chiron, making a sextile to his natal sun. That's going to be more healing than wounding. And transiting Uranus, making a sextile to his natal Venus, the ruler of his 10th house of status and society. So that also brings unexpected good fortune to his status. And here you can see when each of these aspects will be in effect. Uh, Chiron sextile natal sun, that's in effect pretty strongly throughout July and August. Uranus sextile Venus, that will be exact on July 1st. I'm recording this before July, and throughout most of the month. Chiron square his natal Saturn, though, that is pretty strong in both June and July. Transiting Uranus square natal Mars, that is very strong. I'm sorry, I said June and July. I meant July and August. So Uranus square natal Mars, that is strong throughout July and August, exact on the 29th. Again, he can be very angry, very impulsive, could have an accident. Saturn, transiting Saturn square Uranus, that kicks in after the full moon and gains steam toward the end of July and becomes exact on August 13th into the following lunar month. So we've seen these patterns in his chart for a while where one thing is wounding him in his life, but his supporters and backers are providing healing instead of wounding. He gets torn down in one area and then raised up by others. Okay. Now, I have a couple of extra charts here for Trump because important things are happening for him in July. He's supposed to be sentenced on July 11th. And on this day, we have transiting Chiron, square natal Saturn, transiting Uranus, square natal Mars, transiting Mars conjunct his natal midheaven. These are all going to work against him and cause wounding and a lot of anger. But he also has transiting Chiron sextile natal Sun, transiting Uranus sextile natal Venus, and transiting Jupiter sextile natal Pluto. Jupiter can bring luck, and expansion. It's going through his 10th house now of status and society. Pluto rules his fourth house, which is his home environment, the home, the family, and the family business. So, again, on this day of sentencing, he's probably going to receive a certain amount of wounding, but get breaks in other respects, either from the judge or from his supporters. So it's going to be a mix of wounding and things not being as bad as they could. Okay, next, on July 15th, that is the start of the Republican National Convention. And a few things I can see immediately here. One, there's a variety of good aspects, or these mini grand trines as we call them, two sextiles connected by a trine. That is going to help energy flow pretty well. However, Mars makes an exact conjunction with Uranus on that day. So this is sort of anger coupled with revolution. Also, Sun is going to make an exact square to Chiron on this day. So that can bring about some wounding. What I expect is probably that during this Republican National Convention, Trump will enter as a wounded person. Uh, he himself will be angry. There will probably be a lot of fiery and revolutionary rhetoric at the convention. But because of these good aspects here, uh, I anticipate that everyone at the convention will be in lockstep with that kind of rhetoric, and the convention itself will move along pretty smoothly, most likely. But there is that aspect of wounding on that day. Now, if we look at the aspects for that day, July 15th, 2024, that the Republican National Convention starts, and look at how they're going to impact Trump, we see again transiting Chiron still square, natal Saturn. That's a very persistent aspect. Transiting Uranus is now coupled with Mars. Remember, they have an exact conjunction on that day. They're both going to be very strongly squaring his natal Mars. So, very erratic, uh, very angry, very spur of the moment is what we'll probably hear from Trump. Probably very manic. But again, he will get soothing and healing most likely from his supporters, as we see here with Transcend Chiron still sextile natal Sun, Transcend Uranus and Mars making a sextile to natal Venus, ruler of his 10th house, and Transcend Jupiter. Just by going through the 10th house, that provides some more fortune for him. That will be making a sextile to his natal Pluto. That may save his family business. And if we look to see how the transits at the Republican National Convention are going to be affecting this July 2nd, 1776 chart for America, that's the date that the Declaration of Independence was passed. We see these two things I've already talked about. Saturn square Mars, causing frustration and anger and possible violence, and Neptune square natal Venus, an aspect that was present at the start of the Civil War. And this can represent misinformation, confused ideologies, and that sort of stuff. People acting on their uh, nonverbal feelings and values rather than logic and hard cold facts. Okay, if we move on to China, I think they're having economic problems, and I think a lot of those problems are going to continue, though a lot of their base for manufacturing may remain strong. Let's see, they're going to have transiting Chiron square natal Jupiter. That's in the second house of finances and resources. Transiting Pluto is conjunct natal moon. Again, this is all taking place in the second house of finances and resources. It's making a semi-square to the ascendant, and China's rising sign is Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, which again puts us back in the second house. So I think I've seen things in the news about economic difficulties that China is having right now. It looks like they're going to have to transform their economy in some way. Uh, Also, transiting Neptune is making a sesquiquadrate to natal Mars. So again, we may see some violence in China based upon uh, inflamed passions, passionate beliefs about one thing or another. Could be misinformation, could be uh, upsets with communism. We'll just have to wait and see. But there is sort of this confused situation that could result in some violence. But saving grace is transiting Saturn, making a trine to natal Venus. And that could uh, suggest that their workforce, their manufacturing, they have some stability there. And Venus rules the sixth house, which has to do with uh, health and occupation, uh, workers, and things of that sort. And here you can see at a glance the transits throughout the month, and the hard transits are in effect for the entire lunar month. Neptune sesquiquadrate Mars, that's exact on July 24th. Saturn trine Venus, that's going to be in effect for the entire lunar month, but once we get past August 4th, say roughly here, we get into the next lunar month. This will be strongest on July 12th. Now let's go over to the Middle East, where things are going to be pretty much the same as they are now. In Israel's chart, transiting Chiron is opposite the natal ascendant, which means it's conjunct the descendant, the seventh house, which signifies others, and this can signify both Israel wounding others and others wounding Israel. And wounding to Israel, it can come not just from Hamas or Palestinians, but what I'll call the court of world opinion, which has in many places been turning against Israel. Transiting Saturn is also making a sesquiquadrate to the natal moon in the 10th house, and that is probably going to result in some criticism of Israel's leadership, and the people themselves may suffer as a result. Transiting Uranus is going to be sesquiquadrate, natal Neptune. This could be something unexpected. Uh, Neptune in the 12th house. There's all sorts of ways that can manifest. One is hidden enemies, assassinations. Uranus, it's in the 8th house, which not only rules other people's resources, but also death. So, an assassination attempt, that is one possibility, but not the only thing that can happen. But we do expect some unexpected events to happen. It could not be about death at all. It could be about resources that Israel wants from America or other countries, and there could be some unexpected delays in those shipments, for instance. Now, on the good side, transiting Uranus makes a sextile to natal midheaven. That works in the favor of the current administration and leadership in Israel. And then we have transiting Chiron making a sextile to natal Uranus. And that can also provide some unexpected healing instead of wounding. But by and large, there's still going to be serious things that Israel is going to have to deal with. And here you can see when each of these aspects will be in effect. The sextile between transiting Uranus and the midheaven, that's actually ending. That's going to end pretty soon after the lunar month begins. We still have transiting Chiron sextile Uranus throughout the lunar month, but a lot of negative aspects here that are going to be probably make life difficult for Israel. If we look at Netanyahu, nothing but hard aspects this month. We have transiting Chiron, square natal Jupiter, so that is going to wound his luck and maybe his finances in some form or fashion. Transiting Pluto is sesquiquadrant natal Saturn. That is going to create additional frustrations, restrictions for Netanyahu. And transiting Uranus square his natal Mars. So he is also probably going to be a bit angry and fly off the handle and do things unexpectedly. And here you can see his transits for July and August. And nothing, as I said, nothing but bad transits for the lunar month from July 5th through August 4th. Okay, if we take a look at Hamas, well, we have transiting Neptune making a sesquiquadrant to the natal moon. Uh, in the case of Hamas, I think this just means they're going to continue with their current ideology and revolutionary rhetoric and kill them all approach to Israel. Transiting Saturn is conjunct natal ascendant. They're going to continue to be restricted and frustrated in a lot of ways, and this is reiterated by transiting Saturn square natal Sun. So they're not going to have an easy time. However, transiting Chiron is trine natal Saturn and the natal midheaven. So most likely, their leadership will continue to get resources and supplies from places like Iran, which have been giving them the rockets and the bombs that they use to attack Israel. So Hamas will still have its supporters out there helping them and helping them to heal, but it's still going to be a very austere time, most likely for Hamas and the lunar month to come. And here for Hamas, you can see when each of those aspects will be in effect and when they are exact. Okay, and then we get to Iran. I'm making this video the day before Iran's presidential election, and they have their own tensions. Transiting Chiron, square the natal midheaven, can bring wounding to leadership. Transiting Pluto opposite natal Jupiter, that can be the leaders oppressing the people, which again impairs their ability to grow, that impairs their good luck. And then we have transiting Saturn square natal Neptune. So a very restrictive ideology and way of governance is probably going to persist. However, transiting Chiron makes a sextile to natal Mercury, ruler of their second house of money, finances, and resources. So they are probably going to get some trade and commerce from somewhere which helps to ease their economic and financial burden. And transiting Chiron sextile Mercury, that is going to be really strong in both throughout both July and August. It's exact on July 19th and exact again on August 2nd. So their economy will probably get a boost and assistance from somewhere. However, we got transiting Chiron square the midheaven throughout, and these other two aspects are strongest primarily in July, not August. Transiting Pluto opposite Jupiter and transiting Saturn square Neptune. So they're going to continue with some of their frustrations, some of their hardline policies, most likely some wounding of their leadership, but they're probably going to get some economic or financial relief from somewhere. Okay. And that, I believe, is it for this slideshow. So let's see. Yep, that's the last slide. So let me stop sharing here. And I'm back. So that's it for part one of the lunar month for countries and people. I hope you watch this. And if you watch it, I hope you watch part two of the lunar month for countries and people, where I look at other countries and other people such as Putin, Russia, Ukraine, the United Kingdom, Princess Kate, King Charles, Pope Francis, and maybe some others. And I hope you watch my general video on the lunar month for the entire world, where I talk about the general influence throughout and not specific people. Okay, well, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you return. And I'll just say so long and be well.